Translator. Fish Creek. Chin Mu was slightly stumped. This young girl looked slightly familiar, but he couldn't recognize her in a sudden. That young girl was pushed forward by the crowd while she waved her hand. "Coward boy, where do you stay? I'll go find you." "Imperial College." Chin Mu waved towards her, and suddenly a glint of saber light flashed through his thoughts. "That's right, she's Ling Yuxiu. Why does she look different since the last we met?" The Ling Yuxiu before was about the same height as him, and now she was even taller than Chin Mu by a few inches. Furthermore, she had blossomed into such a grown maiden now, looking very lovely and stirring. When she had waved at him earlier in the crowd, he hardly recognized her. It's good that her face is still chubby and hasn't changed. Chin Mu said in gratification. Imperial Physician Q and the rest looked at him with a weird expression. Imperial Physician Yu, elder than others, was more kind-hearted and reminded him, "Little divine physician, if you say that to a girl, especially a princess, your head will roll." Chin Mu was bewildered. Why? The words we praise girls pretty in great ruins are all words like sturdy and good at giving birth. Even though Princess Yuxiu isn't considered sturdy, it's good she's a little chubby. I think she will be good at giving birth. Could these words be used to praise girls? The few imperial physicians understood tacitly, and they all had an expression that this fellow was hopeless. He would be beaten to death sooner or later. Imperial Physician Mu said, "Little divine physician, let us return to Imperial College. After a night of torment, it's really getting unbearable for our old bones." After leaving the palace, Chin Mu split paths with the few imperial physicians. He returned to Flower Alley and ate breakfast at Rain Listening Pavilion. After bidding farewell to Fu Qingyun and the rest of the girls, he brought his luggage and Hu Linga back to Imperial College. Imperial College, Scholars' Residence. Chin Mu walked towards his own courtyard, and Hu Linga popped her head out of his backpack and looked around curiously. From far away, Chin Mu could see that a few rows of scholars sat in front of his courtyard. These scholars sat upright, and they all had sword cases beside them. With their left hands on the sword cases, they all had a solemn expression. The person in the lead sneered towards the courtyard. "Abandoned person. Shouldn't you be awake by now? Could it be you're scared of us? If you are scared, then come out and erase the words on the wall." Another scholar sneered. "All we have is patience. Is hiding in your house forever the best you can do? I would like to see how long you can hide. Weren't you very cocky yesterday? You actually dared to leak out how you schemed us yesterday, letting the whole Imperial College know and making us look bad. Why you are hiding inside now? Are you going to hide like a tortoise? The reason we had left your words up there is to shame you, to make you embarrassed. We are going to make the entire Imperial College know that you are merely an abandoned person from the lands of barbarians. We are the authentic ones." Chin Mu walked forward and passed by them while thinking in bewilderment. When did I ever leak out what happened? All the scholars' gazes turned blank as they stared at him while he pushed open the door and walked in. They had originally thought that Chin Mu had hidden in the room and didn't dare to come out. Never did they expect Chin Mu had been out, making them waste half a day outside, shouting for nothing. Chin Mu came to the central room and placed his backpack down. "Linga, go tidy up the room and the blankets. I'll be out for a while." Hu Ling replied yes and asked, "What's young master going out for?" Chin Mu didn't turn his head and replied, These people are too noisy. If I don't beat them up, it'll be hard for me to fall asleep." Hu Linga could only control the wind to tidy up the room. At this moment, she suddenly heard a huge rumble, and she immediately looked out of the window and saw a scholar flying up into the sky before falling back down head first. "Next." Chin Mu's voice came from outside. The rumblings of thunder were like thunders exploding in the clear sky. Hu Linga heard a whooshing sound which should be a human body breaking through the air, but she couldn't see anyone flying in the sky and could only hear a heavy object crashing in the distance. "Next." Chin Mu's voice sounded out again. Sounds of water surging and huge waves smacking rang out as the raging waves splitting the shore. Among the sounds of churning waters, another miserable scream sounded out and silence followed after. Only Chin Mu's voice could be heard. "Next." Hu Linga quickly tidied up the room, folded the blankets and placed the bedsheets. She then took out the items in the backpack as she thought to herself, if I tidy the room fast enough, I can still go out to have a look. The earth-shaking sounds from the clashes travelled in from outside, and the miserable shrieks also never stopped. When she had finished tidying up and ran outside excitedly, she saw Chinmu walking back in from outside, looking a little tired. "Young master, it has ended." Hu Linga was slightly disappointed. Chinmu nodded his head and gave a yawn. "I'm sleepy and I'm going to sleep first. Don't run around." Hu Linga nodded her head and popped her head out of the door. She couldn't help getting a fright when she saw scholars scattered everywhere on the road of scholars' residence. Some of them were sprawled out on the floor, while some were hanging on the opposite walls. There were some hanging on tops of trees and some being embedded in wall far away. Some were thrown into the canal beside the road, and others were planted into the ground with 2 legs sticking out which would twitch from time to time. Hu Linga stuck her tongue out and ran over to search the scholars' bodies. She took down all the jade pendants, spirit pills, jade bracelets, hairpins and etc. before delivering them back into the house. "Linga, what are you doing?" A sleepy voice came from inside the house. Hu Linga replied in righteousness and confidence. Devil Ape had said, "Win, snatch, rule." Chinmu's snores sounded out, and he shouldn't have heard it. Hu Linga ran out again to carry in the scholars' ape sword cases, and one of the scholars woke up and grabbed onto his own sword case weakly. Hu Linga spat out a whirlwind which swept the sword case up to smash this scholar in the head. The scholar's head became completely covered in bloody, and they still wouldn't faint. Hu Linga mashed a few more times, and that scholar finally fainted. Hu Linga gave a sigh of relief and swept that sword case to send it back to the courtyard. That scholar secretly peeked, and when he saw this fox walking away, he finally let out a sigh of relief. "Ah, he's awake again!" Hu Linga saw him peeking and cried out in surprise. The scholar then saw a tornado sweep up a rock that was as big as a small mountain to smash to him, and he immediately fainted. This time he had really fainted from fear. Hu Linga placed down the rock and started hopping around to loot everyone as she went further and further away. At his moment, a scholar in the distance woke up and saw this fox pillaging all the treasures on the scholars' bodies. He immediately struggled to crawl away, but he was discovered by Linga, who dragged him back into scholars' residence. That scholar howled miserably all the way and then fell silent. The fox had knocked him out. Eternal Peace, Imperial Preceptor's Mansion. Imperial Preceptor's mansion was grand and gorgeous, but the place where he cultivated was very simple. It was only a huge hall that was empty and had no other stuff. If one raised his head to have a look, he could see an extremely spectacular sight. No roof, but the sky could be seen above the huge hall. The countless stars seemed to become extremely low and could be grabbed. There was the marvel of formation spells. 30,000 yards above the ground, there was a formation floating there which was formed by countless of transparent glass, and a few of Imperial Preceptor's disciples were there managing the formation. This formation was formed 30,000 yards above the ground and had a radius of 66 hectares. It was gathering starlight, and through the transparency of the glass, the starlight directly shone through the roof of the huge hall. Eternal Peace, Imperial Preceptor, was gathering the starlight to cultivate, therefore his cultivation was extremely high. At this moment, Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor had a haggard aura as he was currently recuperating. There was a black-clothed man beside him, who was currently concocting medicine. Suddenly a red-colour flying bug flew over and came to the ear of the black-clothed man. The black-clothed man's face was full of warts that looked like the ones on toads. Warts covered his entire face, and he looked frightening. He nodded his head repeatedly, as if he understood the words of the red flying bug, which was very weird. "Imperial Preceptor, my junior brother has arrived." The black-clothed man was the little poison king that Empress Dowager had mentioned, and his name was Fu Yuanqing. He continued, he had cured the 1,000 opportunity poison in Empress Dowager's body. Eternal Peace Empire opened his eyes and let out a strong smell of blood from his mouth. He asked puzzledly, "How did you know that it's your junior brother who had cured the 1,000 opportunity poison in Empress Dowager?" 1,000 opportunity poison is my master's proudest work. The only ones who can cure this poison are only me and him. The warts on Fu Yuanqing's face twitched, and he explained neither too fast nor too slow. The little bug had told me that a youth had arrived, therefore it's obviously not my master. That could only mean it's his new disciple. I had thought he was already dead, and I never expected he would still be alive, and even taught a little junior brother out. Imperial Preceptor, now that the poison in Empress Dowager's body is cured, do you want to poison her again by feeding her another strange poison? Eternal Peace. Imperial Preceptor shook his head. There's already no need. Fu Yuanqing didn't understand. There's no personal grudge between Empress Dowager and me. She had only opposed to me pushing for a political reform for the sake of her son's empire. His Majesty became hesitant due to this. Therefore, I had ordered you to poison her, not for the sake of killing her. It was just to make her unable to meddle with the politics of the imperial court. Without Empress Dowager's meddling, His Majesty could now put his heart and soul into pushing for a political reform. Now that my influence is already stable, there are half of the people in all levels of society supporting the political reform. Eternal Peace, Imperial Preceptor continued, and the ones that oppose me are currently taking the chance to revolt. My plan has already succeeded, and with the current general trend, even Empress Dowager can't stop me. Fu Yuanqing smiled. You talk about the general trend, but I talk about gratitude and grudges. Your injuries are almost healed, and it's useless for me to stay here, so I'm going out to take a walk. Now my junior brother is here. Shouldn't I visit him as his senior brother? Eternal Peace, Imperial Preceptor warned. You need to be careful. Empress Dowager won't do anything to me, but she can still put you to death. Fu Yuanqing hesitated for a moment, and the warts on his face trembled randomly. He grumbled resentfully. You are the one that ordered me to poison her, so why will she kill me instead of you? How innocent am I? Did you forget that you betrayed your master? Furthermore, Empress Dowager had a history with your master and with her intelligence. She will definitely know that the person that had cured the poison is your junior brother, and you will definitely want to find him. She will definitely be waiting for you to take the bait and kill you, taking revenge for herself as well as for your master. Fu Yuanqing's head started to ache and could only drop this thought. Translator Ninetails. Editor Fish Creek. By the time Qin Mu awoke, dusk had already settled. The youth wished to draw some water from the courtyard to wash up. The moment he stepped out of his room, he saw over 10 sword cases laid out in the courtyard. Besides the sword cases, there was also a heap of items, jade pendants, hairpins, jewellery, and the like. Qin Mu was at a loss, and just then he heard a voice outside the door. Is this immortal Sister Fox? I've come to redeem the belongings of my house's young lady. Take a look. Hu Linger's voice rang out. The silver isn't enough. Your young lady's sword case, hairpin, and bracelet are no ordinary things. This amount of great abundance coins will not do. What's Linger doing? Qin Mu was bewildered. His eyes were still heavy with sleep, and he had yet to wash up, so it wasn't proper for him to go out now. Thus he fetched some water to wash his face. Meanwhile, the owner of the voice outside smiled with apology. My young lady only gave me this pouch of money. There truly isn't more. May immortal Sister Fox please be lenient with me. This sword case is from the Imperial College, and the hairpin and bracelet were bestowed by the elders in my young lady's family. Fine. Wait here a moment. The door opened, and Qin Mu saw Hu Linger dash in like a wisp of smoke, a bag of coins trailing behind her. This little white fox used her arts to raise a whirlwind, sweeping up a sword case and several pieces of jewellery as she rushed back in, thrilled, and handed them to the person outside. That person was deeply grateful, voiced her thanks, and then departed. Qin Mu washed his face and brushed his teeth with a wooden toothbrush. Only when the little white fox came running back did she notice him. Startled, she exclaimed, "Young master is awake? Young master, we have money now." As she spoke, she opened the door to the west room, and Qin Mu saw over 20 bags piled across the floor. Hu Linger opened one sack, and great abundance coins poured out onto the ground. Qin Mu was dumbfounded, not knowing what to say. Hu Linger was proud of herself. Young master beat those scholars until they were too embarrassed to come redeem their things themselves. They could only send their servants to redeem their belongings, so we made a great profit. Qin Mu rinsed his mouth and exhaled a turbid breath, shaking his head. Linger, this isn't kind. I already gave them 2 beatings. Now you've pillaged them and taken ransoms. It's a bit too much. Now that they've paid the ransoms, how will I have the face to beat them again? Hu Linger stuck out her tongue, somewhat upset. You already beat them once? Young Master didn't pillage them the previous time you beat them? Isn't that a huge loss? Young Master knows the rules of our great ruins better than anyone. Didn't you say before that taking things by our own ability can't be called stealing? Qin Mu shook his head. You snatched their things and took their money. I'm afraid my hands will grow soft from collecting money. Fine. Since we're nearly out of funds, this can sustain us a while longer. You can't snatch their things next time. We'll snatch again when we run out. That way can thin streams flow forever. Hu Linger nodded again and said, Now that young master is awake, I shall prepare some food. Why prepare food? Now that we have money, we can go eat any delicacies in the city. Choose any dish you like. They went out in high spirits, the fox carrying the coin pouch. The many scholars lodging in scholars' residence all shut their windows and barred their doors when they saw Qin Mu and the fox pass by, not daring to face him. Qin Mu was puzzled. Those scholars had said the entire Imperial College already knew he had beaten them, but he definitely hadn't spread what happened. Then who had leaked it? Besides scholars' residence was Royalty Park, where the residents were princes, princesses, and lords of aristocratic families. The Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor had established a rule. The children of royalty need not take the examination and could enter Imperial College at 15. However, the royals held lofty identities and could not reside together with ordinary scholars, so another residence was opened. Wei Yong was currently laughing with several royals. You didn't know. Our scholars' residence has been bustling. That Qin Mu beat up the scholars again, and they're miserable now. Don't say I'm the one who told you. A royal asked, puzzled. This person from Great Ruins is actually that strong. He's still okay. Wei Yong boasted. His ability is about the same as mine. It's just that his moves are strange. I think those fellows in scholars' residence are too useless. Another royal laughed. Those fellows in scholars' residence are always conceited and contemptuous. They feel they've fought their way in by ability and always look down on us royals. Now they've met their nemesis. Qin Mu walked out of scholars' residence, and a youth appeared before him. The youth was travel-worn, carrying a massive pack as tall as a man. The backpack was boxy, and several weapons were thrust into it. Though dust streaked from the road, he looked intensely martial, and there was a slaughtering air about him, an invasive pressure rolling off his body. The two met face to face, and Qin Mu was pressed by that invasive force, his body instinctively drawing into a guarded stance. Under the tug of chi activity, that youth also had no choice but to halt his steps. Though the youth carried a killing aura, his movements were proper and measured. He cupped his fists in salute. Newly arrived junior brother? Qin Mu returned the salute. I've just entered. Senior brother has just returned from outside. I took the chance during vacation to go to the army's front lines. That youth smiled. I'm called Chen Wanyun. Since junior brother is new, you can come find me if you need anything. Qin Mu reported his name, and the two parted ways. Only when the chi activity entangled between them dispersed did they feel at ease, each striding off with larger steps. This new junior brother is very strong. Chen Wanyun looked back, giving Qin Mu another glance as he thought to himself, Big brother is back! Scholars' residents erupted in jubilation. Many scholars emerged from their quarters to welcome Chen Wanyun. Chen Wanyun smiled. Ladies and gentlemen, we've only been apart a month. Do you miss me so much? Eh? Why are all of you injured? Senior sister, even you are hurt? What happened? The scholars of scholars' residence all looked ashamed. That senior sister Q was named Q Ting. She replied shamefacedly, Big brother, you have no idea. Recently an abandoned person from Great Ruins came to the school, and his strength is formidable. During the entrance examination, Taoist Ling Yun was injured by him with a wooden sword and was embarrassed before the Emperor. The Emperor allowed him to enter our Imperial College. We were angry at that decision, so we wanted to force him to leave. How can a slave be our classmate? Chen Wanyun said. Taoist Ling Yun is extraordinary. If he can injure Ling Yun, then his capability is astonishing. Of course you'd be beaten if you go provoke him. In the same realm, how could any of you be Ling Yun's opponent? Qiuting argued, what identity do we have? In our eternal peace, abandoned people are slaves, and slaves are the same as livestock. With livestock as classmates, won't we become livestock in others' eyes? Imperial scholars are 8th-ranking officials after all. Can an abandoned person be worthy as well? How can we preserve Imperial College's face? Furthermore, junior brother, we were beaten by this abandoned person. It wasn't us beating him. We were even beaten twice. Chen Wanyun was stunned and said, all of you went to beat him, so it's natural he beat you. You can't blame him. If you lost and he didn't let you go but beat you again, that is his fault. All the scholars grew even more ashamed and said nothing. Seeing their expressions, Chen Wanyun asked suspiciously, he didn't trouble you. You went to pick on him again because you were unwilling to accept losing and ended up being taught another lesson. Am I right? Qiuting immediately said, now it's no longer a personal grudge, but the face of our scholars' residence. How can scholars of eternal peace lose to a barbarian from outside the sphere of civilization? This matter has already spread throughout the whole mountain. It was this abandoned person who spread the news, making it hard for us to back down. He even robbed us and pillaged all our valuables, forcing us to redeem them back, shaming us even further. Chen Wanyun's expression turned grim. Where it is possible to let people off, one should spare them. Isn't what he's done a bit too overboard? Don't worry, I'll handle this. Also, all of you are too useless to be beaten so miserably by a newly arrived scholar. Useless? All the scholars lowered their heads and Qiuting muttered, if he hadn't schemed us, we wouldn't have. Chen Wanyun sneered, I met a junior brother outside just now named Qin Mu. This person is remarkable. There's still a murderous aura on me after leaving the battlefield, and he detected it before I even reached him. His chi activity locked onto me and forced me into defense, stopping me to exchange greetings and report our names, easing the hostility. This is the state an Imperial scholar should have. He continued in a deep voice. Once I travelled with Teacher Ba Shan and met the sect master of Heavenly Flag Sect. Back then, Teacher Ba Shan and the Heavenly Flag Sect master drew closer and closer, then finally stopped to greet each other before parting ways. I never understood why such a scene occurred. Only when I met junior brother Qin Mu did I understand what Teacher Ba Shan experienced when he met the Heavenly Flag Sect master. In the martial world, when you meet etiquette, it may not be as you expect. Within it, a fight is secretly concealed. If you never go out to gain experience and only hide here, you will never understand that feeling. When you are unable to see those kinds of battles, you will certainly lose. All the scholars became more and more ashamed, and Qiuting muttered, Junior brother Chen, the abandoned person who beat us is called Qin Mu. So it was him. Chen Wanyun was slightly stunned and grew pensive. No wonder, you didn't lose wrongfully. For him to defeat you, what need would there be for him to scheme? Suddenly, a surprised cry rang out. Senior Sister Qinghong is back.